This is Brian, and welcome back to the Tech Stack Playbook, your guide to apps, software, and tech, but in a fun way, I promise. So I just had an amazing conversation with Vivah, and if you don't already follow her, her Instagram is super fire. It's everything of like coding, big city, developer goals, and I'm just a huge fan of hers. And she's a software engineer from New York City. She's also the founder of Coding Crystals, which is a STEM-focused jewelry company. And she's also an AWS community builder like me. And we had an amazing conversation about a lot of different things, but specifically what the value of a community means for developers. And being a part of the AWS Community Builders program, at least for us, has enabled us being able to just tap experts and leaders and learn from visionaries in cloud and DevOps and coding and software engineering and really get high level access to the industry experts. And that's something that I think a lot of people, when they're starting out, just have the value of a community is so underrated for a lot of people, because a lot of people think it's just, oh, you need years of experience, or you need to just know it. You just need to know it. And in a sense, like what AWS and the Community Builders program has enabled for us is an ability to just explore and to try and to test things out and to innovate and not feel like you have to know everything right now, but just to start. And that's really where the conversation that Linda and I have goes, where we really dive into that value. And I think the value of a community helps to break down imposter syndrome, because there's so much imposter syndrome in the industry, and that really is just a reflection of really, in a sense, like what you want to aspire to be and what you want to scale to be. But imposter syndrome, and I had a great Tech Stack Playbook interview with Jess way back, and we had talked about imposter syndrome, and it's really just that abstraction of where you want to be and where you want to grow, but it's kind of manifested of why am I not this right now? And once you're able to kind of break through that shell of I'm just starting and I'm just building and I just want to try. Once you're able to get there, it's really empowering. And what the AWS Community Builders program for us has enabled this access to trying and to testing and to learning and to growth. They put weekly trainings and workshops and really just, in a sense, help to set developers up for success within a month, within several months, within a year. And that's really where I feel like my career has been exponentially transformed because of the people I've met through this program, because of the trainings that I've been a part of. Within the last month, they were focused on AI and machine learning, so learning how to build, train, and deploy AI models to the cloud. The previous month was more on app development, so learning how to work with authentication, learning how to work with data, learning how to create users and applications. So that, in a sense, like was another month. Another month actually before that was on how to blog and how to speak at conferences and presentations and get out there. It's not just developers, it's also building you as a person. And I love how AWS just capitalized it on this of, we aren't just Python, we aren't just JavaScript, we aren't just Lambda functions. Like, we are people. And when you think about the value of mentors and mentorship, that's something that's so important and so vital for people that I don't think a lot of people talk about. But that's why the Community Builders program has been so helpful for someone like me, is I'm able to now be growing myself as a person. Maybe my personal brand, or maybe my blogging, there's a great opportunity to write blogs, on the AWS Dev .2 channel. There's so many great benefits and opportunities. Even getting a subscription to Cloud Academy, it really helps to set you up for success. And having this community of hundreds and hundreds of developers from around the world, it just opens you up to new stories, new insights, new ways of thinking about technology. And I get really passionate about it because it's been so transformative for me. And I'm just excited to share this interview that I did with Linda for you. So I'll play that right in a second. And maybe I'm actually kind of interested as well. So maybe I'll drop some comments below. But just kind of curious to hear what insights you have and what you take away from the conversation, because it's just, I thought it was really valuable, and being able to connect with amazing people, from anywhere in the world, just through our Slack channel, through the Community Builder program, just from anywhere. Finding amazing mentors and people and friends is super valuable. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. So just a quick plug that the applications close on March 31st. So if you have any questions about the Communities Builders program, want to know more about it, want to hear about my experience in it, please reach out to me. Again, I'm pretty easy to find. I'll drop my social handles in the comments below. But really, in a sense, if you want to learn and be just kind of drink from the fire hose and just go all in on coding and programming and learning really the tech at the end of the day, the Communities Builder program is for you. If you're passionate about AWS and what the cloud enables software to do, AWS Communities Builders program is for you. Again, I can't stress this enough. It's been such a transformative program for me and has really helped to build my career even right now. So in a sense, I'm super grateful for the opportunity and love sharing this with other people. So if that's of interest to you, definitely reach out to me. I'd love to share more. And just remember, I'll put a link to the application link below, but definitely worth checking out this conversation that Linda and I had, and hope you get a lot of value out of it. Instagram, what is going on, everyone? I am going, hey Jason, Linda, hey, how's it going, everybody? Oh, the gang's all here. All right. I'm so excited for this, by the way. This is going to be so much fun. I've been doing quite a lot on the Tech Stack Playbook, and I've been having people like Linda and Lou, who just joined. Hey, Lou, how's it going? Hey, everyone. So, Linda, we were talking about this literally the other day for like a couple hours. There's so much that's going on in the tech world and just everything that's we're part of. Hey, there you are.
Sorry,
hey.
it took a moment. Hello.
There we go. There's like a little bit of a delay, but now you're there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, this is perfect. No, this is good. This is great. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on the Tech Stack Playbook with me. Obviously, my name is Brian. But this is Linda Vivah. Linda is amazing. She is. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you definitely have to. Her Instagram feed is super cool. But kind of to just give a little bit of background. So she's a software engineer from New York City. She's also the founder of Coding Crystals and also a fellow AWS community builder. So Linda, I'm just like a huge fan of yours. You already know this. I've followed you even before we were in the community builders program. But do you want to just tell like the audience just a little bit about you and what you're up to, what you're about?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me on, Brian. This is such a fun topic. I to talk all things AWS. So yeah, I started more like I was always in New York City, born and raised in the tech industry. Also been in music all my life and have always been very much a creative like you, Brian, which I want you to speak to that too. So I run a shop called Coding Crystals, and which is jewelry for STEM inspired things. But I joined the AWS Community Builder program this past year, and I met Dan there, and it's like you meet such incredible people through the AWS community program. I'm sporting the shirt today. By the way, what swag are you wearing, Brian?
Oh, it's the AWS Analytics long sleeve.
I knew it.
It keeps me so warm. It's so cold out now, so keeps me nice and toasty.
I know. I kind of wanted to wear my reInvent sweatshirt, but I'm in Florida right now, and I was like, oh, I need to carry all my swag with me because now I'm missing it. But I am in Florida, so I didn't need a sweater as much. But yeah. So do you want to tell them why you joined the AWS Community Builder program? And then I'll speak
definitely.
to it too. Or
definitely. So as we find things just on the internet and on the interwebs, so I actually found out about this on Twitter. Someone had messaged about it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I didn't know that they have programs like that. And a lot of where I was coming out of it, so when I was applying for it, I had been working pretty actively on this program or this open source project called Corona Tracker, and it's an open source platform. You can actually check it out, but basically on my GitHub. But it was we basically bootstrapped this team from 3 people to like 300 globally, and we built a solution to help people track their symptoms related to COVID. So we were working with health experts, like people that were on the ground in the hospitals, and it was like so eye-opening of like how you can build software and how you can build a team and the open source community. And we were using AWS in our stack, and I got like pretty familiar with some of the tools and some of the technologies that we were building in, and it kind of was like a good fit of like, oh, there's this program and I could really benefit a lot from the training and the workshops, and like I need to like really understand how these technologies work. I don't want to just be like, AWS, like cloud, DevOps. I want to really understand how to build with it. And it was like, that was when I saw that, and I'm just like, oh, this is like exactly what I need, and like exactly what my career like needs as well. So that was like a little bit about me, but also about you. Like, I'm kind of curious how you came to the community builder.
Yeah, so I also heard about it from somebody in the community, Robert. Shout out to you, thank you. So I've kind of really been passionate about AWS for the last 2 years. I started out more in the web development and front end, right? That my journey into tech was more like web development, front end, then kind of went into more middleware, kind of like back. But I started getting into cloud 2.5 years ago about, and my company where I work for, like, we use AWS. And so I was so curious, and I wanted to get more like into it. And so I started kind of, the best way to always learn is to teach. And so I started like taking certifications and was teaching online, and both internally in the company I work for and externally. Now, like, I kind of shifted into a day-to-day being able to work in AWS. But for me, anything in tech has to be community-based. Like, I personally learn really well when I have a community, and I think many others do. If you think of innovation, we're always building on each other's ideas, and having that community, especially remotely during a pandemic, is so crucial, and just sharing that knowledge. And so the AWS Community Builder program, one, really brings a lot of like-minded people who want to learn, and that energy is infectious, right? Like, you feel that,
100%.
everybody wants to learn, everybody, I remember when reInvent happened, I was like on the Slack, Community Builder program Slack, and was constantly kind of like seeing all the updates. And it's so cool that to have that like community. There's mentorship. You also know some news before it happens in the AWS world. So that's pretty cool. I mean, there's so many perks, and you get some benefits, and you get cool swag,
All of the above.
It's definitely been all of the above. By the way, applications are open. So if you're interested in the AWS community program, it is free. It is application based. Jason Dunn's in the house. So he runs,
hey, Jason.
He runs it. And I highly recommend it. It's an incredible community. If you're enthusiastic about AWS, definitely check it out. Speaking of, why should you get into AWS? Brian, do you want to tell us your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, we were talking about this, and just in terms of like how to start, and I think something also kind of prefacing like with what you were talking about before with the community builders program, I think you kind of just have to take that leap, and you just have to like go for it. I know this speaks directly to strategy with certifications of like sign up and just go for it. I think a lot of where maybe like we as developers, I mean, me kind of being a younger dev, I'm like, I have a lot to learn, right? I have a lot to grow, and I think you just kind of have to take that leap. And the community builders program was just like I wonder if this will work out. Like, same thing with the certification. I wonder if this will work out, right? And of course, like it will when you put the time and the effort. But even just like starting, and I think the certification, it's not the end all. It's just the start. It kind of certifies to you the confidence that you know these technologies and you know what you're doing. But there's more things beyond just the certification. It's kind of just like the gates. And once you pass the gates, then it's like there's a whole world to explore. But Linda, I know you have kind of a strategy for how you've attacked certifications. So I'm curious about what you think about them too.
So echoing that, totally echoing that. I exactly, like, I personally function with deadlines, right? I think anything in tech, you need a project, you need hints. But when it comes to cloud computing, for me personally, I do the certification before I even start studying for it, because I needed a deadline. When I wasn't like in the cloud computing space and wanted to make that happen while working and doing all these other things outside of, let's say, the AWS hands-on day-to-day type of things, I needed some sort of deadline. And even if it's a small deadline, it doesn't have an end goal, but making those like for yourself, or like projects for yourself that you're going to build, or some goal, is really important for you to be able to see it through. It's all consistency in everything you're doing in tech. And so whether it be like if you're trying to learn how to code and you're building a project, or if you want to get into cloud computing and you want to understand the fundamentals, and scheduling the cloud practitioner certification, I think like a lot of courses online give you a lot of hands-on, especially for the foundational type things, gets your feet wet a bit. But I think personally that has worked for me to be able to kind of push through certifications. And of course, like in anything, it's all hands-on, but a lot of these like courses have hands-on ideas and projects. There's so many resources online and in the communities. So happy to send them as well over. I know you share a lot of that, Brian. I share that. So it's definitely one of those things that having that deadline allows you to see it through. And it could be like baby steps. It could be like a specific thing. I will schedule the cloud practitioner or the professional essay. It could be like in the midst of your career in tech, right? And want to get into cloud computing, and it's still different, right? I had that experience. I wasn't working with AWS hands-on every day. I was working more on the front end development end, and I really wanted to do that more on the day-to-day, and it wasn't intertwined with my daily tasks. So how do I get to that point that I make it that access, that I am able to play around with certain things, and finding those labs, finding those projects, making your house smart with AWS. I mean, there's so many ways, and there's so many ideas there to do. And kind of like if it's project-based or certification, yourself that deadline is really important. I think in anything in tech, but definitely like for certifications, that's kind of like my process.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think it's like setting that, like, there's like the end point, right? And then map your path there. One strategy actually that I'd recommend for anyone is like learning in public. And I actually was talking about this with a number of people, how I was posting a lot about cloud, and any of my friends that were like, okay, Brian, like you really like love AWS, like got it. And I was like, no, this is so cool when I was studying for the cloud practitioner cert. And I was making posts every day, but I was actually reinforcing my learning. And that actually helped me a lot, because
Exactly.
if I could explain it to someone else, right, I was able to like emojify the lessons that I was learning. So it was like a cloud guru, which is what I was studying. And then there was like another one on free code camp, and I was using that. And now through the community builders
really
program,
good too.
we get the subscription to Cloud Academy. So shout out to the community builder program, because that's an awesome platform. But yeah, so it's just like learning in public.
It has so many resources. Like I can't totally. And I feel like, in general, like the course you choose, like stick to it, like see it through. But yeah, like you teach to learn sometimes, like, and that's why like blogging, if it's blogging, if it's video, if it's like doing infographics, however, you find it. Brian, you're so creative. Like I love your graphics and everything you do.
Thanks.
Like you have such a creative approach to it, and it's so great. Like, I mean, like tapping into the way you prefer to learn and teach it in that way, that's really key. That's something I definitely recommend as well, and echo that.
Definitely. And even speaking on the creative front, because I know we are both creatives as well as into tech. And funny enough, I remember like, because I'd seen you like before the community builder program with like your workspace, and you're super creative about your vibe and how you like, build your workspace. That's like productivity, and like, it's like all hype into tech. It's very, very cool. But like, I remembered seeing you posted a reel, or TikTok on Instagram Reels, and it was like you doing a duet, like a singing thing. And I was like, wait, so she makes like STEM designs with your jewelry company. You also do tech, and then you also sing. And I was like, that's crazy. Like creativity is amazing. And I'd love to hear from you, sort of, what do you see? Like, is creativity a superpower in tech? Does it have a place? What do you think?
Yeah. So I think there's a huge misconception with like tech being like, you're married to this like code and you're just doing this like thing. We're building products. We're builders. And that is creative in itself. And so many correlations between art and tech, or music and tech. You see a lot of musicians go into tech. Why? Because we're really products, and the approach is very much like coding is the tool, right? Or knowing how to build something is the tool, but being able to be creative about how you solve something and the way you think, that's very much related to art too. And so like that whole like separation of it, I never got, because I really do think it goes hand in hand. And I encourage, if someone is looking into just coming from like a creative career path, I know there's a lot of career transitions happening during the pandemic, like definitely look into it. There's so much correlation. You could do it. There's so many free resources. And whether it be you're going to the class or just, specifically not sure where you want to go, I think starting with foundationals is really important. For example, getting your cloud practitioner certification it doesn't matter if you're going to go into cloud computing or not. Understanding how things work when we are so reliant on technology on the day-to-day will open your mind to things. And that's really key, right? Like we have to understand sometimes with the tools we're using, we're relying on our phone, we're relying on different things. We want to understand how remote work happened. How did that happen? Like, as far as like, how are we able to do that from a cost effective standpoint, from a reliability
Oh,
standpoint, from a security
I
standpoint,
know.
from like just being able to scale, right? And cloud computing enabled a lot of that, right? So just even understanding the fundamentals, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to work in tech specifically, like as like somebody more doing coding or architecture or SRE, but like there's no, I think it is like knowing the alphabet at some point. Like you need to know fundamentals, like on how things work from every standpoint. Definitely encourage people like to just be curious always, right? Like as they say, curious.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love the
that's
curiosity.
really where I
No, that's awesome. And I think even just thinking of the fundamentals, I know the different trainings and workshops that they've put on for us. They go everything from like this was a couple weeks ago, but on networking and virtual machines. They had a session really cool on building, training, and deploying machine learning models with SageMaker. So it's
that's so cool.
really stemming like
Yeah.
from across the gamut of technology in AWS, and the ecosystem is quite vast. So I like how it's not just one thing. Like you're not just going to learn,
No.
like compute. You're not just going to learn storage. You're not just going to learn like, AI. You get to kind of experiment, and even still, like they kind of give us a category, but then we also have the ability to kind of meet other people from other, sectors of
Yeah.
AWS, and that's really cool, I think.
Yeah, you're not stuck into one thing. Like there's no, if you
Hmm.
were put in like in a serverless group, like you're pretty much able to see everything. And that kind of speaks to everything about cloud computing. Like the jobs in the cloud computing space are type of jobs, because just understanding what services are there and the reliability with all these companies going on scaling on the cloud and moving their servers to the cloud, you're going to need somebody to maintain that. And then from there, you're going to need to innovate on top of that. And like, it's endless as far as I think the jobs in the cloud computing space, as far as where it's going to go. We're only in the tip of the iceberg. And so definitely recommend, whether you're like, if you're in tech, like, get understanding the fundamentals in cloud computing is definitely super important. And yeah, that's what I love about the builders program. There is so much sharing of information. And in general, like even AWS, like the free trainings, if there's so many different niches you could go into. It's endless, and you never know enough. Believe me, like imposter syndrome, just from like trying to understand just looking at the amount of services. I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
anybody fully knows all the services these days. Like it's definitely hard to keep up with. So
Totally.
kind of being comfortable with not knowing things and figuring it out is important in tech in general. So what is
Oh
your
yeah.
suggestions for people like that also like get overwhelmed from looking at all of that?
Yeah, well, that's actually something that I feel like I'm working through right now. It's like there's so much like analysis paralysis of like there's so much that's out there, and there's so many resources, and there's a million blogs, there's a million websites, there's a million trainings, there's a million courses, and it's like it can get so overwhelming to be like you kind of at a certain point it's like give me the information I need. And sometimes I've found that
Yeah.
like having a you know what I mean? Like having a community is so valuable because actually, I mean, again, quick plug to the community builder program, but it's like being able to tap people that like Nadir Dabbit, I think that's how you say his name. He's like an AWS Amplify legend. He like learning right now about like Next.js from all of his workshops and everything. Amazing pro. I'm in awe of him. I actually bought his serverless book and from O'Reilly, and it was just absolutely
Ooh,
amazing.
I
And
have to get that.
it's really, really good. And he has an amazing YouTube channel. And being able to just like message him and be like, hey man, like I have a question, or like, hey man, like, have you done this? And being able to just talk to people and people that have like decades of experience,
Yeah.
that's something that's so valuable that isn't out there. And I think even again, like me being a
No.
young person in tech, it's like in a new dev, it would be so overwhelming to not have that community. And really why I wanted to make the Tech Stack Playbook was because there's people like you, like me, that we are still learning and leveling up and trying to
Oh,
get these tech skills.
professional
And it's kind of like,
students.
how do you start?
We're professional
Oh,
students.
oh my God, I love that. I love that. And that's what we are. And oh, one thing I do
That's
just want to
everything in
pull
tech.
up because I'm looking at the comments. Amance Lexa, they just commented. They said, Linda, I think it was just something you had said where I've always been scared to share my content because I feel that I don't know enough, especially when it comes to AWS. This is quite empowering. Well, that's awesome. You just got to start,
Oh, I here's the thing too. when you're starting out, your ability to explain things to somebody when you recently learned it, so you're able to explain it in a way that somebody else in the same better than a person who's senior explaining it. And that's the thing. There's power in explaining it every phase of your career, whether it be you're just starting out, your mid-level, your senior level, whatever level. I think that really teaching, there's never a wrong time to do that and putting that content out there. Like it really is, like for me, I content about like tech in general when I was learning, like like, probably during boot camp, and so like I really encourage it. I think you end up realizing how much you could contribute and how much your tone and voice and the way you're presenting something could be helpful to somebody and yourself. And there's never like, don't hesitate on that. I know I've done that too before. And I learned like, really, you have the power to actually explain something fundamental better sometimes than somebody that's more senior. So definitely do it,
Ooh, I love that. You can sometimes have that creative way in which you view something that can like unlock the door to someone who they were like, oh, I didn't get this before, but now I do. I even go back to, I tell people, I like back in high school, physics was so hard for me. And there was a kid who was like much older than I was, and he actually kind of like walked through problems with me. And I was like, okay, the way that you explain it is definitely not what I'm being taught in the classroom, but it makes sense the way that you say it. So it's even from like Instagram, right? Like we talked about this. We learned so much from IG carousels, from creative infographics.
Totally.
Like especially in the blockchain space, there's a company called 101 Blockchains, and they make these like crazy cool infographics that are like really big, and it walks through super complex topics. And I remember when I just got into this space, I was like, oh, where would I be without this type of content? Because, white papers, technical papers, they're like, I'm not going to say that like they don't have their place because they're important, but they're so overwhelming to new people. And it's kind of like, show me some colors, show me some visuals, show me some graphics. Sometimes you also need that as well. And that's where the creative comes in. So
absolutely. You need to go where you're natural, like where you're naturally on too. Like sometimes like, you surround your feed, for example, is your surrounding and your social circle a lot of times, especially during a pandemic. And so like having that like also in ways that is like, of course, if you want to go more in depth, you could go to the white paper, and I highly recommend that. But getting sometimes that like confidence to go into it, explain things in different ways in like a social media style is definitely helpful to also consciously have the confidence to learn it. Because a lot of times, like when you're starting out something, you don't start because like right at the beginning, because you just don't feel like it's attainable or you're not sure if you could do it. And so a lot of I think like the power of the community and social media comes too. Not just like what is there in the content that's there, but how it's delivered and how relatable it is. Everything these days we're surrounded by information and in 8-second bits, right? And so kind of like being a thing, through that is awesome. And our community, like I love our tech community. Like I think like it's so nice to like scroll through your feed and like see things that you like learn and bring into your work. And like graphics are so good, by the way. Like you're so creative. I kind of want to hear a bit about your creative background too, and like because I love like your vibe and your voice and like the way you explain things. And I just kind of like want to ask you like what your background is and how did you like shift into tech? I know you mentioned it a little bit, but
oh my God, thank you. I love creative. I love creativity. I've always been in art classes, like literally since grade school. And I actually did an art major in high school where it was like 2 blocks of art as opposed to 1. And that was like studio art. And kind of getting into college, I was like, okay, Brian, like you're not going to be like, there were people that were like training in art galleries, and I was just in school. So I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to become like the next Van Gogh. Like, let's be honest. How can I use my skills and like do something that actually can like be supportive or, at least have some impact? So I got really into graphic design, and that actually over my years in school, I was doing a lot of like, like kind of side hustle-y, like freelance projects. And I worked on my skills over and over. And then I got into UI UX, and that's how I found out about like front end design. And then as soon as I was in that, kind of after college, it was just like, okay, like, you're kind of moving more into the tech and more in the tech and more in the tech. And then I realized at a certain point that like my design can only be a design unless I can code it. And that was like kind of a
Right.
breakthrough point for me because I was so back at BU, I was in this Innovate at BU program. It's kind of like a YC type startup, incubator program. And it was super empowering because we got to like see startups at scale, but then sorry, my background turned off.
I'm like,
um so but it was like we had this great idea, but we like couldn't do anything about it back in school because neither one of us knew how to code. So that was like the perpetual journey of like, okay, so these are the skills that you need to like get there. And the journey might be long, but as soon as you learn that code, now you're able to make apps, you can make software, you could make, again, like things that could like help people. Like I got to work on Corona Tracker to help people, and I think we got like over like 10,000 views on our GitHub repo, and like
I love that.
that was in a scary time. So like you can use it for a social impact stance. Like you can use technology to like,
Yeah.
I worked on a project at a hackathon, and we built this AI model that could track and model COVID cases as they were expanding over time. So technology is like so empowering, and I'm kind of in awe specific of the cloud of how you can now like put something on the web and now it's accessible to anyone.
Right.
And I'm
It's
just kind of
accessible
curious.
to anyone. Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say like
I cut you off. Sorry.
like what. No, it's all good. I was curious kind of like what AWS has opened your world to as well, because I know like you're very like devy and you're very creative and you're really into technology, and I was kind of curious like what has the cloud like opened up for you in a sense, and even as a developer, right?
Yeah.
Like multiple areas, yeah.
No, and as you said, like I think very much in line with what you said prior, like any skill set you have, and whether it be like cloud computing and like understanding how things are built, or coding, or both, right? Kind of having that tool, it's like a pen, right? It's like you're writing, you need to know how to use a pen. And that's the thing, like being able to build and being able to learn these skills to then see what you're building and see it come to fruition and be able to do that. Like that's the thing that is so empowering about it. And I think for cloud, like I just, I see it becoming so much part of everything. And I really liked the macro part of it, like how things are built. Like, for example, if I wanted to start a business tomorrow, I no longer have to go invest in all the hardware. I rent it from Amazon, right? And I could like get up and running in like a day, like not even, and I'm paying only for what I use. And I benefit off all this like information that all these other companies are doing because we're all innovating together and we're using services that are all getting improved based on each other's experiences. And so there's something so powerful about that. It's like really like the heart of what innovation is, right? And so
Exactly.
I found it just to be so powerful just to know how to use it and just understanding. Like it's hard to keep up obviously with what's new with AWS and any other cloud computing service, but like it really is something that having the knowledge like of where to start and how to learn is key, and how to like just not being overwhelmed with like what you don't know, but knowing how to learn something, how to approach something. That's really the skill set I think in tech in general, that you always want to learn about yourself. And every person learns differently. I might not learn the same way you learn, but knowing yourself
Exactly.
and knowing how you learn and how you retain information to then build that out, or build something you find out, whether it be like you want to make your home smart, whether you want to build a whole company,
Yep.
like, and like, make it scalable, and, you want to deliver information, to different regions. And I mean, there's so many, or like what
Yeah.
you built with like COVID tracker, like there's so many, it really is giving you the platform to do it from your computer, and anybody could really go on and do that. And like, it's mind blowing, like how powerful it is. I'm thankful to be living in an age that we have that. And, like I'm excited to see where everything goes. I'm always going to be learning. I think it doesn't matter where you are in your career. Like there's always a lot to learn, knowing to be comfortable with not knowing things and to keep pushing yourself, but to also like, find your ways of growing and career pathing, whether it be your mid-level and you're trying to go into cloud computing, or you are in cloud computing and you want to up your skills, or you're starting out, it doesn't matter where you're at. Like having those projects in mind or that little goal in mind to start your journey is really important. So it could be like just learning, as we said, fundamentals, or building a specific project, but like realizing you don't need to know everything, but just get started. Like you can do it.
Yes.
Like I've done it, Brian's done it, we will continue doing it, we'll continue growing and sharing all that. And so yeah, we're all learning together. This is why we have this community. Like this is, and the AWS Community Builder Program. If you're interested in AWS, I know we said this before, but I highly recommend checking it out. Applications close March 31st, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, 31st.
So
So the end of the month. I believe it's the end of the month. It's like 11:59. So make sure you
oh
get it in before
yeah,
11:59.
yeah, get it in before.
But
And yeah, in
yeah, and
general,
I'm just
find
looking at
that community.
yeah, you definitely have to find a community. And I'm just looking at the comments. But Logan talked about fundamentals, two fire emojis, and said, "Be curious always." Steve said, "Oh, hey, Steve. Great stuff here. What learnings?" Oh, Jason said that. I think it was like anyone could, or what was it? It doesn't seem fair to be as talented as Linda is. So you are well respected, Linda.
I'm just a crazy person. No, believe me, I don't, it's all about just like, I think figuring out how you learn. And I'm not some like guru at anything. It's just like, finding your voice. Everyone's unique. Everyone has their own strengths, and finding what your strengths are, and like leaning into that. There's only one you, and you could, and you could build something that's very different than somebody else, and do something in your own journey that you love, that makes you happy, and that you could create and innovate. And it's a skill set that's
Oh,
awesome.
I love that. I love that. And just one closing thing. Tiamat.dev was talking about, can you share how long it takes to learn AWS basics? Linda, you had already been talking about that. Like, which kind of projects did you start with? Like, kind of just to wrap up, like, do you ever feel like you're finished learning the basics? I sometimes almost feel like we're relearning
Oh,
fundamentals and we're relearning kind of processes all the time and best practices.
never. Like, I think sometimes we have to reiterate things many times. Like in anything in tech, like there's things you could be doing specifically and niching into one thing. For example, you're working on a lot of API work, so you're building a lot of APIs, but like for the last year and a half, you haven't touched like data viz, So like, I don't know, it's never going to be like over. There's stuff you're going to learn and forget. But I think the thing, knowing how to relearn thing, not being like scared to ask questions, not being like being in your head too much about like, I don't know this, I don't remember this. Like, we all make mistakes. The difference between a senior developer and a junior developer is they've just seen the problem more times than you have, and have learned how to solve things, like how to learn, how to be resourceful. And that takes time, and that everybody has to find that cadence for themselves. But it's doable. You don't need to
I
be
love
some
that.
like, yeah, it really is just figuring out, like tuning into how you study, and really essentially go with that.
Yeah. And I honestly think like and actually we a couple of the community builders, we were doing a live coding session. We were building a tic-tac-toe game. And honestly, like in the session, we didn't like cut it or edit anything. So it was like live. And it was interesting because some of the debugging and some of the issues that we ran actually was helping like us to learn like, oh, okay, like because it's like you see all these perfect tutorials and it's like nothing, it works 100% of the time and you're like, okay, like this isn't Hollywood. This isn't like a production set. Like things happen all the time. And
No,
being able to like authentically like see people adapting in real time to changes, like that's where the real learning comes in. At least
totally.
like that's how I learn. I learn kind of almost by failing and making mistakes because then it trains you on the best practices. So then okay, like when I see this,
Absolutely.
then I know how to change and do XYZ, and then it's better.
You remember the things that broke much more than you remember the things that work. Like
Oh
that's how it
yes,
is always,
preach,
right?
preach.
Like,
That's so
I
true.
personally have done more about things breaking, and it's only a matter of time. We have a job because things break. I mean, no, but
Yep.
like it's really like we're also like things. It's not because like you built them wrong. So that's there things you have to adapt to times and new features and other updates. Like it never ends. Of course, we try to streamline that and always up the innovation and always make things easier and just build on top of that. But it's all about like trying to figure out through broken things what happened, and knowing how to handle those. Certainly learn more about from things breaking than things working, as I said. So right, like
Oh yes.
it's yeah, never like look at a tutorial and say, oh, and I have errors, and that's it. Embrace them and say, oh, this is a cool learning experience. I can't wait to find out why this didn't work. If you can't solve it, sleep
Exactly.
on it, walk away, do anything but
Exactly.
learn. I think we
Totally.
trying to figure that strategy out.
Oh, definitely. I love that. That's so true. And even the point that you said, like, you remember the things that break more than the things that actually work. Like, I think, like, just in general, like, the industry can really benefit from, like, celebrating wins. Like, whether it's making a piece of content, whether it's, reading that white paper that was, really comprehensive and really, time consuming. Maybe that was getting a certification that was really hard for you. Like, maybe it was just taking that lesson or, like, taking the jump. And I think we can all kind of benefit from, cheering on ourselves because
I mean, that's the benefit of having a community, right? Because you can have people that are cheering you on. Like, even when
Yeah,
people make a blog post, people can clap for that in the Slack channel or something like that. So there's like, I think we win a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. So it's always
totally.
important to kind of have that top of mind, like you said.
Yeah. That's why we highly like, speaking of like, right, we're talking a lot about community. Like, community is key. Find your community, whether it be like the AWS Community Builder program, or specifically social media, or a Slack group, or anything. Surround yourself with, people that want to learn with you and go on the journey with you, because like you will learn more. Like, even when you go to a boot camp, for example, and like if you go to a coding boot camp, you learn more from the people you're going to coding boot camp with than why, because like it really is the journey of figuring things out and having that support system. And we could do that today.
Exactly.
We have so many free resources, so many free community. In Instagram, there's a bunch of people always learning and different niches. So definitely look into that and find that community and surround yourself with a supportive environment. That's key.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And maybe just to like close out, just quick plug again, AWS Community Builders program closes March 31st. So I'd say, Lina, maybe I can speak for you too, but if anyone has any questions or anyone wants to talk about the program, the application process, I know I've had a couple people reach out to me like this week. Yes, like if you're into AWS and you're enthusiastic about cloud, DevOps, and you want to learn, the program is to help accelerate your path in AWS, in DevOps, and cloud. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be, the expert that maybe the imposter syndrome feels like holding you back. You can start right now. And if you're interested in it, feel free to reach out to Linda and myself, because we'd love to kind of help and maybe even just share a little bit about our perspectives and any ways that we can be helpful. I'm sure Linda, like you as well, like we'd love to be of help and of service.
Perfectly said.
Awesome. And Linda, maybe you could just tell people where to find. I mean, I feel like I know where to find you on all your channels and everything, because I followed you on Instagram for such a while. But is there places that people can find you or reach out to you?
Yeah. So first of all, I definitely reach out to me. I'm a lot on Instagram, so reach out to me there. I also have my email there. You feel free to email me. And definitely on the comments, sometimes if you have something that could be helpful to somebody else, I definitely encourage commenting questions that could be helpful for other people on a lot of the posts. But definitely you could DM me on Instagram or, email me via the email tab on Instagram. So definitely that's probably where I mostly see things. So. And yeah, I can't wait. Brian, we should do this more often. Like, we want to hear from you which topics you want to see more of, all things AWS. Definitely, we could do a bunch of different topics. And we might be doing one about reInvent soon. We'll do like a recap of it. Right, Brian?
Ooh, stay tuned. Yeah, I know. It's like a little teaser. Like, we definitely should do one of those.
I was like, should we do that? we'll
definitely have to.
You can still watch the reInvent videos. They're on the site. So we'll do like a lowdown. It's very hard to keep up with reInvent, so we'll maybe do like a live on that. I think we just decided right now, so stay tuned.
That'll be the next one in our series. Totally.
In our series awesome. That we're gonna do. Yeah, I'll probably be not in Florida. I'm like sitting here in the corner in the back of
the next time, so it'll have to be you'll have to have like your background, like you guys, like anyone that follows Linda, like this with the scene, like in the back with the city and everything, like it looks so cool. It's actually like what I call like developer goals, where you're like, that's the ideal.
I love your setup. It's definitely developer goals. Yeah, so we'll do that. I'll be wearing my reInvent sweatshirt this time, like we'll do that live. So, and it'll be, New York is a bit colder, so that it works. So I'm looking forward to it. Brian, always a pleasure. So great to be live with you. And yeah,
thank you so much.
Keep learning, everybody.
Yeah, always keep learning. And never stop. Positive progress every day.
It never stops.
Never stop. Keep going. It really, like, you should not stop, and the learning also will not stop, and the debugging will not stop. There's a lot of things that are just, it's a cycle.
But take walks, drink a coffee, meditate.
Oh yes.
Keep your mental health.
Meditation for sure. Linda, thank you so much for being able to do this, and I can't wait to do the next IG Live with you. This will be really, really fun. And again, everyone that's been like supporting the Tech Stack Playbook, like, thank you so much. I'm super grateful, and being able to connect with amazing people like Linda, and Jason and Lou, and all the people that are in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, and looking forward to the next episode.
Woohoo! Can't wait.
Woo! Go team. Okay, I'll catch y'all later.
Team.
Bye. Thanks again, Linda.
Catch
See
you
ya.
all. Thank you. Talk soon.
All right, so I thought that that was an amazing conversation, and I even learned a lot from hearing Linda's insights on just her career and what she thinks about the value of community as well. So if you got value from this channel, I would love to see in the comments what you found most valuable. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those below or DM me. At Brian H. Huff, as well as Linda, reach out to her as well if you have any questions or comments. And yeah, I mean, we're two community builders that are united in the ability that technology enables for us to grow and scale. So there's so many things that you can do in technology. There's just so many paths, and it just can open your whole world up to possibility. And in a sense, that's really what we're focused on, of sharing. And again, I hope you got a lot of value from the conversation. I know I did. We got a lot of great feedback on the live, and we were able to actually answer quite a lot of questions that folks had because they're interested in this area and this topic. So if this is interesting for you, if you have any questions, definitely drop those below or DM me, and I'd love to get back to you. Again, quick plug that the AWS Community Builders program closes on March 31st, so make sure to get your application in before then. And again, I'll drop a link below to that. But yeah, if I can answer any questions or if I can provide any help or any guidance, please reach out to me. I love talking about this, and I love sharing my insights and what I've been learning across my career so far. So yeah, in a sense, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Tech Stack Playbook, and I will see you all next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.